Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a new episode of the Somali Circle Podcast. Today I'm joined by Hamda Salwe. Hamda, thank you for being here. She is the founder of Ayeeyo's Blends. Inshallah, today we'll be diving in more about your story as an entrepreneur, how it all started, and how Ayeeyo's Blends came to fruition. So first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
So for the people that are listening and viewing this video, could you first of all introduce yourself shortly? Who you are, what do you do?
This is always a question where I really trip up. So, of course, my name is Hamda, and I'm the owner of AOs Blends. I always, um, I always follow it by the tagline of AOs Blends traditional Somali tea spices. So it's a very inspired and informed by tradition kind of business. And when people ask me, "Oh, what is Somali tea? Tell me more about that," I always say, "Oh, we make it with sugar, spice, and everything nice." People love that tagline as well. Yeah, so my professional background, I've worked in many different fields, and fortunately, they have also informed the way that I run my business and my skill set that I've been able to bring into AA's blends as well. Some of the various places where I've worked and things that I've done are things like marketing, branding, sales, and customer service, hospitality. And I want to kind of take all of that and put it into a, a business, a family business that's also deeply inspired by my own AA, not just my AA, but also the Habariyaro, my Hoya as well, and generally the women that have come before me. So
Yeah.
Strong women in your family.
exactly.
Yeah. And before we dive into how you started, because you started in a very courageous way, middle in a pandemic. How was? Are you born in UK?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
How was growing up?
yeah, I was born and raised in London, and the time when I was growing up, I'm gonna age myself very badly now. Which not that long ago, but the period when I was growing up, we lived in a very um an area where there weren't a lot of Somali families in my neighborhood when I was younger, but there were a few Somali families. Uh, Predominantly, the other ethnic minorities that were in the part of London where I lived were maybe Bengali, Caribbean, a few West Africans, but not a huge West African community. But it was a real mishmash of people and a very, very large community of white working class people, and also Irish community as well, where I was living as a child.
Mm.
And London has changed a lot. We have a huge Somali community now, and that kind of exploded from the mid 90s onwards. But the period of time when I was growing up, I remember people would look at my mother back then. She's not going to like that I'm going to say this, but back then she didn't wear hijab. Alhamdulillah, she's very modest now, and things were very different at that period of time.
Mm.
I'm so sorry for
Mm.
saying that. But at that time,
I think during that time a lot, because I've seen like a lot of old pictures.
yeah,
Yeah,
many
yeah.
Somali
Yeah.
women, they didn't typically wear hijab at that time. So, but she was living in London, and so what would happen a lot of the time is that the Gallagher essentially would see her in the street, and they would, they would see a foreigner,
Mm.
and they would be like, I don't know where this foreigner is from. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I'm gonna call you a slur. And the first slur that I'm gonna reach for at that time, they would call her the P word. In the UK, the P word is something
Mm.
that they direct towards the South Asian community, because they would look at her and they'll say, okay, you've got brown skin, but you've also got long hair, and
Mm.
they would need to throw some kind, they would need a slur, but because they weren't familiar with the Somali community, they weren't acclimated with Somali people. Maybe she was the first Somali that they'd seen, or
Mm.
they would only come across Somali people so often. They would just look at her and they would need a slur, and they would look at her and they would just call her the P word. So I remember that very distinctly as a child, us being called the P word,
Mm.
Wow.
and they just didn't know what we were. So yeah,
They
they
need
were not
something.
they needed something, yeah.
Yeah.
So because we and not it's not I'm not saying that all white working class people are ignorant, because that certainly isn't the case. I grew up in an area that had a lot of impoverished white people. They had um maybe their family was stuck in poverty for many generations. They didn't have opportunities. There were a lot of barriers for social progression and like the ability to like
Mm.
change generationally. But there was of course that frustration of seeing a lot of foreigners move into your area, refugees, asylum seekers. And my parents, they came here as as refugees, displaced people, of course,
Yeah.
like all of our families were when they came into Europe. So they kind of had that frustration. They kind of needed to take it out. But towards the mid 90s, there were a lot more Somali people coming into the area. And then we were really building up a community. We had a Somali community center. Um, they do a lot of amazing work. They're called the British Somali community. And the lady that runs it, her name is Khadija. And she's like a habarir to me. She's like a big like kind of like an auntie figure in the community, and for a lot of people that come into contact with her organization. And she did a lot of work for looking for opportunities for young girls, young boys that were growing up in our area. So
Yeah. Beautiful. And then, so you first grow up in a predominantly like Adan area where you were called certain names, and then there has been a change of like to the community aspect that I think also inspired some way Ayeeyo's Blends, seeing the community, what happens there. Fast forward to the actually starting of the Ayeeyo's Blend. When was it?
so I started AOs Blends in the last kind of quarter of 2020.
Yeah.
2020, of course, we all lived it, we all survived it. The pandemic was a very isolating time
Mm.
for all of us, and I guess we were all looking for a way to survive that period, to get through it. Many people started new hobbies. Many people were honing new skills. Some like people went through major career changes. It was a very transitional period, and I feel like the pandemic, it's kind of it was one thing that we forget about the pandemic is a lot of people of course lost their lives.
Mm.
And when something like that happens, there's a big shakeup. So many changes happen, and it's like when a forest burns down and you lose a lot of trees, you lose a lot of the foliage, you lose some of the environment and the ecosystem,
Mm.
but then something else comes about afterwards. And I felt like the pandemic was that for me as well in many ways, not just in terms of building a new opportunity, a business, but in terms of personal development and growth. And so the part that AA's Blends played for me as a person in that period of time, it was an opportunity for me to find something that was a bit grounding and also reconnected me with my family, with my daqan, with my roots, my culture. And Somali tea culture is very much one of those things where it's about connection, it's about storytelling, it's about building bonds with people, it's about hospitality
Mm.
and welcoming people and warmth. So I feel like it was symbolic of that for me at a time where we weren't able to socialize with anybody. We were locked in our houses. You weren't seeing your family and your friends or your community for months and months and months on end. So I wanted and I guess I found something that made me feel a semblance of that during the pandemic. So that's kind of those were my motivations, I think,
Yeah.
what I was looking for when I started AA's Blends.
Beautiful. And so obviously there are a lot of people that might look up to you watching this episode and thinking like, hey, what she created, I want that too. So we hope to also dissect like how to start Ayeeyo's Blend and how like which phases it goes through. Um, so you get the idea of like, hey, um, like reconnecting with the culture, with with my family or with my communal roots. And I want to start a Shah brand. So what? So the idea starts. Where do you go from there?
Well, I think one of the things is just doing it, which is so easy to say. It's so easy to say to just get up and do it because um I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and my mother, um you know, bless her soul, she's very much one of those people where she gets an idea, she just does it.
Mm,
And she would always look at me and my sister and say, "Why don't you start a business?" And I would say, "No, you don't understand. I need the right idea." And I'm very much one of those people where I don't like to pursue an idea unless I can do it with perfection, or I know the vision of this is how it will look. This is the first point. This is the second point, and I have a complete vision in my mind.
mm,
And that's when I'm like, I don't want to pursue this thing. And it's not necessarily just about businesses. It's about anything in life. I'm always one of those kind of people where I don't like to start something without knowing I can do this perfectly. My mum, she's a doer. She's like, I'll figure it out. I'll smooth out the kinks. I'm just going to get the ball rolling. And she's had many, many different businesses. Some of them have failed. Some of them she like I'm so sorry.
no
Some
way.
of them she just dissolved it herself and moved on to something else. And now she has a couple businesses that are doing very well for her. So she would always look at me and say, just
Sameh.
stag, just like
Yeah,
halasame, like just do something. So Ayeeyo Blends, I don't know how. I just decided this was the one that I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna get up and do it. And
yeah. The
that was the
thing,
first hurdle for me.
yeah, and that's like a hurdle that some people stay there for 40, 50, 60
Yes,
years
yes.
of not doing things. And we have had like a lot of podcast guests, a lot of beautiful Somali entrepreneurs that actually said the same. The first thing of like making the idea actually happen is taking the first step towards it. So
Yes.
I love that you said that again. So you were like, okay, I'm going to do it.
You went in the kitchen.
Where do you start?
So the way that the start was not the start, which is the funny thing about it. The start wasn't even the start. I had no idea what I was starting when I started. And I know that makes
Mm,
no sense whatsoever, but the way that it all began was with a craving for shah. So during the pandemic, so my family, they've relocated to Somalia about nearly 10 years ago. I think my parents, they've been living in Somalia for some time. So in the midst of the pandemic, that meant that my parents could not travel back to the UK. And it had been, I think, a year between them not coming back to the UK. And they come back very frequently. So it felt very strange not to see them for that long. But of course, with the travel restrictions, it meant that they couldn't come back and forth very easily. And my mother, she has this habit where she's done this for years and years and years. And it's where she makes hawash in bulk, whether it's for hawash for shah, hawash for rice, hawash for chicken, any kind of seasoning. She just knows these recipes off by heart, like a muscle memory. She knows how to, when you see somebody who's been cooking for many, 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 many years, they don't measure anything. They don't
yeah.
count timing. They just they observe by their eye and their hand, and they just do it. So my mother, she does this with hawash, and she'll just make bulk hawash, and sometimes it will be by the kilo, and she'll have it in the pantry and stored away, and she'll just run through it, and then when the time comes, she'll buy all of her ingredients again, and she'll make it, and she'll just keep it on hand in the house. So during the pandemic, of course, my mother could not come to London, which meant that the hawash stocks were running very low, and it was stressing me out. And I remember looking in the cupboard, and the shah container, like, that had the hawash, this lovely hawash here, so it was at the bottom. And I remember when I opened the pantry and I saw that it was just done, I had this pang in my chest, and I got very emotional.
Mm,
I got very emotional about a relatively inconsequential thing, but because of the period of time that we were in, everybody's emotions were very heightened. You're vulnerable.
yeah.
You're just
You feel unsafe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things feel uncertain, things feel unstable. So I remember just being very emotional that the hawash finished, because it wasn't that the hawash had finished. It was, this is a reminder of how distant you are from your family right now.
Mm.
This is
Mhm.
a reminder of how distant you are from your community. It was symbolic of
Wow.
that. It was like I was running low, not on the hawash, but the fortification of like the family connection. It was symbolic of that for me. So I remember being so upset, and I WhatsApped my mum and I said to her, I'm craving shah, and the weather was getting a bit colder, so it was like I need it. Um, and she just gave me a list of things to buy. I went to the cash and carry in Southall. If you're from London, of course, you know, you're familiar with Southall. That's where a lot of the Asian cash and carry shops are. So they'll have many of the ingredients that we use for African cuisine, Asian cuisines, Arab cuisines, and they'll, you know, they're a staple in the community because they'll be able to supply everything that you need. So I went to Southall. I went to the wholesaler. I bought the ingredients. I came back. We went on a WhatsApp video call, and I followed step by step. And at the end of it, I had this big container of the hawash. And it wasn't just that video call, it wasn't just about me making the hawash so that I could satisfy my craving or my need for it at the time. It was like, it was a bonding moment with my mum as well. And it served more
Mm.
than I realized at that time. So at the end of it, of course, I had the big container of the hawash, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this away to some friends. And during that time, this was when everybody was making banana bread and the sourdough bread and things like that. And a couple of my friends, they would do like a little um, what was it
High
called when we
tea or
would do the
something.
no touching, no, like from distance. I can't remember what the word was. No contact. Like when you would have like a
Oh,
delivery and they would leave it outside, socially
yeah.
distanced.
Social
Yeah,
distance.
so this
Yeah.
was during social distancing.
Mm.
So one of my friends might leave some baked goods outside of my door, and I might leave something for her. And so I was, one day I'm making jam, one day I'm making cookies, so I'm like leaving something outside, and then one of my friends would drop off a parcel. So then I was leaving the hawash outside, and then they would leave something, and we were trading something, and it felt like, you know, it felt like bonding, it felt like community, it felt like something. And that was pretty much, that was the actual start of AA's Blends. So
Yeah. And amazing.
And
Amazing.
very beautiful story. And then once you gave it to you, how did they react on
a couple of my friends that I gave it to, they were Somali, and then a couple of them, they were like so I have very close friends that are from Iran. Some of my close friends are Arab as well. So it was something that was familiar for them, but at the same time a novelty, something new. So it was very well received, especially my Somali friends. They were like, "This is very convenient. This is very, very convenient. You're giving me something that's a one-stop shop, sort of, where I don't have to take the cardamom pods and split them by my hands or crush the cinnamon." And so yeah, it was very well received.
and then you decided to make a business out of
Yes. So each each brick kind of fell by accident, I think. Um the first brick, I suppose, or the first stone, it was the reception from my friends. That was the first big positive reinforcement that I got. They like it, they love it, and I have something that I can share with them. Then the next step, it was making an Instagram page, where so through word of mouth, I was very lucky that word of mouth began to travel a little bit. So friends were telling other friends, and then someone was messaging me or say, "Oh, can I get some of the hawash? Can I get some of the tea spice?" And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna make an Instagram page.
Mm.
So then it was all my friends that were following. I think at first I had maybe like 30 followers. Then, you know, it was like something interesting, something exciting for my actual circle of friends and friends of friends. And then yeah, all got rolling from there.
because I've seen your content way before, obviously before this meeting. I think it was last year, the year before that. I seen like on TikTok or on social media that you were showcasing your products, and I was like, mashallah, like very good idea, in the sense of a lot of people want that feeling where you explain by communal, bringing back to the roots of being Somali and having that tea. Us having some Somali circle, the circle embodies like having they always say in circles.
Yes, like sitting under the
The
tree.
tree.
These are
Yeah.
the things that I want people to be able to feel, because we're a million miles away from our home, we're a million miles away from our roots, but there are moments where we can still recreate that, or the essence of it, or feel it in a way. And that's something that I want to do, or that's something I'm passionate about being able to do.
What I like about the blends is there are multiple ways of something taking you back to home, in that sense. One is seeing something and getting back, but you have like not only one but two ways of bringing people back, and it's like by the smell,
Smell
I'm
and
like,
taste, yes.
and you're there, and also the taste,
Yes.
and that makes it profound. For the tea, never mince the tea, and I think that's also a very good lesson. I also have a marketing background, a branding background, and the number one thing you want to do with your brand is make it not just only about the product. So you are not buying the Ayeeyo's Blends, you are buying community, you're buying family, you're buying home, you're buying
And the
your
feeling,
roots.
yes.
Exactly. So always try to think further and see the story behind it, and like by going back and seeing like how it's made, why you did certain things, and you are very self-aware of why you do what you're doing, so that you think in a profound way about things, and that helps also because a lot of people feel that way too but don't have the words, and you put it in words, and that's what I like about your whole
I
brand.
appreciate that. I really
Amazing.
appreciate that. But again, the entire basis of it was it it started out of my own need at that time. It was my own need. It was something that I needed. I was missing that feeling when we were all in isolation. So
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time it helps to start something for yourself, um, because a lot of people struggle with it too. So um, by, let's say, healing yourself through the Ayeeyo's plans, you could also heal other people in that way
I
and
hope
reconnect
so.
them, and reconnect them. So I actually love that. And so when was the pop off moment where everyone wants some of it?
So I got very lucky quite early on, I think, where there were a couple pieces of content that I'd created that did very well. And it's funny because when you have a brand, or you're trying to start a business, or you have something that you're bootstrapping, you go through ebbs and flows. And that's something that I'm just coming to terms with. There are points where things are very, very low, and then there are things where demand is very high and I can't keep up with it. And that was kind of like a catalyst for me. So there were a couple bits that I'd made, and then people were receiving it very well. There were a couple Somali content pages that reshare a lot of content, where I got very lucky, and they shared what I'd posted, the content that I'd made, and it helped me kind of create that initial buzz, or that initial following as well. So I was very fortunate with that. But
Yeah.
the Instagram algorithm and the TikTok algorithm, these things they're just codes that I can't crack. This is a language that I can't speak. So there are things that I've done where it's like deadpan, like dead in the water. But then there were things that I did where I got very lucky, and people engaged and
Yeah.
really enjoyed the content. And then it helped me like push it a bit more, get a bit more of a following, pass it on a bit more as well. And then also, of course, word of mouth, which is valuable. You cannot put a value on the power of word of mouth. And Somali people, one thing about us as a community, we're very, very supportive of one another. And we will, the next time you see your friend, you will be telling them about this amazing thing that you're trying, and this amazing thing that you're obsessed with. And we support each other immensely, just off the strength and the the core thing of just Somali nimo, walal nimo. We are very supportive of each other.
100%.
And that is one thing Alhamdulillah, wallah, I'm so happy to be
Let's
Somali,
go. Yeah.
because we support each other really, really, truly. And it makes me emotional sometimes, the way that people have supported me, and really, you know,
Push you forward.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, people have been very, very, very supportive.
The thing is though, a lot of people think that is not the case, in the sense of like, um most people see also we amplify a lot of things. So a lot of people are scared of a lot of Somalis are scared of going in front of the camera because they are like I think scared of the accountability what comes to it. So we always um, and we try to prove with the Somali Circle too. Like when we started, a lot of people were like it's going to be drama, headache, and we were like literally all the Somali people around us are amazing, communal. If I go to a different city and I see a Somali person there, I get instant love. He doesn't know where I come from, and that helped us a lot with our event. We're doing a multi-city event, and everywhere we come, we most of the time we didn't know anyone from Stockholm, but the people there
Yeah,
uh,
amazing.
are literally helping us, feeling like brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
doing the most. We got like 12 people helping us
Yeah,
on the event.
was
Yeah.
really
So
amazing.
it's
Actually.
like people don't know, and the whole reason why the Somali Circle grew in I think 8 9 months so much is the communal part,
Yeah.
the thing that you're describing so perfectly now.
We're very communal people.
Yeah.
And actually, funnily enough, this reminds me of so early when I was saying that when my parents first came to the UK and settled here, there wasn't a huge Somali community. So my mum said, back in those days, of course, there wasn't social media. They weren't the internet existed, but nobody was really online like that. So she said when she was walking down the street, if she saw a Somali person, she would run to them and say, Somali mate, Somali mate. And then they would take each other's numbers and the people would find each other. They would actually find each other. Like, think about how did people keep a track of each other? Somali, markala wada qaxay, we were dispersed everywhere. Like, if you dropped a bag of rice on the floor, we were everywhere. How did people find each other? We were seeking each other.
Yeah,
We were
without the
seeking
social
community.
media, without the
Yeah,
thing, they still could find
they
out.
found a
Yeah.
way, to connect, to gather. If you think about in that period of time when people got married, how did you invite all of your guests?
Mm.
If if somebody was having a party, how did you found each other and you would invite the random one Somali person that you saw walking down the street and you said, oh, there's going to be a wedding on Friday. They will invite them.
Mm.
People found each other. The community, like, people find a way. So Somali people were very much like that, and still to this day, I've actually inherited
this
one of those traits from my mum. Where if I'm on vacation, if I'm abroad, and I see a Somali person, I'll run up to them and say, "Somali mate." I'm
Yeah.
very much one of those people. I see a Somali person from across, like it doesn't matter if I'm in Spain, if I'm in Cyprus, if I'm in wherever I am, Dubai. I don't care where I am. If I see a Somali person, I'm running up to them. I say, Somali mate.
Amazing.
That's like that's like having international relations without having
Yeah.
ever ties. But like it means a
Yeah.
lot. Definitely means a
Yeah.
lot. And jumping back to Ayeeyo's Blends, um, you've grown the business now for the last couple of years. What are your plans for the next couple of years?
I, people say don't share your plans because someone's gonna steal your ideas, but I, I want to say it at the same time so that I'm accountable to myself, which means that I'm gonna have to do it. But I would really love to open a cafe
Mm.
and make it like a home for AA's blends. And go into a physical space. So I've done events, I've done pop-ups, I've hosted events where people have come and had conversations and chit chat and drink the tea and take time and connect and meet people. So I would love to have a solid home and a space where it's like that all the time. So that's
Ayeeyo's
really what I
Cafe.
want. Yeah, I want to. I don't want it just to be AA's cafe. I want it to be AA's house.
Mm.
So I
Wow.
want it to be like akal, like I want it to be a real home. So
Mm.
yeah,
That's what you're working on now. Amazing.
yeah,
Very good
inshallah.
idea. Like that's something that Guled uh in- does a lot because you've seen like the I think which country was it? Saudi Arabia. Their tea and they have a lot of tea shops now that's
Yeah.
popping up in different countries. It's very popular now in America, I think,
Yes, yes,
where
yes.
they bring the Saudi tea to there.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think really truly like if you give someone a Janib Somali tea, the reaction you get from them, saying, "Oh my days, I've never tried this before."
Yeah.
So I think it's a very good idea in the sense of it's very good not only for the Somali community. I think broader, like the the world in general,
Yeah.
will really appreciate the project like that.
Yeah, and also it's not just the actual tea itself, it's the culture that surrounds
Mm,
it as well. So Somali tea culture, it's very slept on. And our tea culture is very much about things it's so once upon a time, if we were all back home, it would have been Asariya time,
Mm.
the time where everybody is pausing for the day, you've gone to work, you've come home, you're decompressing and you're catching up with your family because there's no social media, so you're not posting your musings online. This is the time where you're going to vent and chit chat and catch up. Oh, how was your day? What did you do? Oh, how are you feeling? People would really have that moment in their day. Of course, we don't have that now because we live a very fast-paced lifestyle, so there's not that opportunity to connect the same way face to face. But that's what our tea culture was, and we don't have that now anymore. So I would like to be able to, I feel I would like to be able to just reignite that, I
mm.
suppose.
Bring
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because yeah, and I do have a very romanticized version of that in my brain, of course, and it's not something that you might be able to find the time for every single day, but I would, I think about it, and I would like to like just take a little bit of that essence and put it into my business, I suppose.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Literally, an
Yeah.
amazing idea.
Going on as the about the yeah, we got to know your journey more, your AOs Blends more. I'm curious. There are a lot of people watching that would yeah. You already showed like your passion for our culture and community. Are there other things that help uh, make Ayeeyo Blends as successful as it's now? Like what kind of advice would you give to your 2020 version of yourself?
Um, what would I advise myself? Um, More of a personal thing to myself, like silencing doubts. I think that's a big one, to silence my own doubts and silencing your own critique. Um,
Is there a way to do it? How did you do that yourself? Because I feel like within the today's generation, this is a huge one.
um, I think this is a technique that they teach in a lot of therapies where you interrupt the thought, or you challenge the thought. So when you have that critiquing voice come up, you interrupt it and you challenge it and you say, oh, let's say my plan is to oh, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. And then the interrupting thought, or sorry, not the interrupting, the critiquing thought might be, oh, you're going to be tired and you're going to be lazy and you're not going to go to the gym. And if even if you go to the gym, your body's not going to change after one session. What's the point? And then the interrupting thought would be, so what? Or why not? What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Or
Mm.
you challenge that thought, and you can apply that in any context. Whenever you have that thought that just comes in and it's negative and it wants to stop you from doing the thing that you really want to do, you just question it,
Mm.
challenge it, and yeah.
I love
That's
that
a good
concept.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
But it's a very common technique that they
Yeah.
teach you in many therapies. So yeah.
amazing. I think that's a good way to end the podcast. The time has already flown by. That's crazy. Well, it's been very inspirational about your story when it comes to Ayeeyo Blends. You're starting to now, and I wish you all the success when it comes to Ayeeyo
Thank
Blends.
you so much.
You
I
have
really
such an
appreciate
amazing
it.
gift to um,
Tell us this story.
yeah, not only tell but actually make us feel the
Yeah,
warmth of I was
out
there,
there.
right?
We were there having asariya, we were eating the
exactly
biscuits and drinking the
I was already
tea.
thinking
this
about
whole
it.
podcast was about that, and
Yeah.
I think everyone who's watching from doesn't matter if they are in China now
Yeah.
have now the
Yeah.
same feeling as we have
Amazing.
I
now.
want anybody who's listening or watching, I want them to be able to have that experience with me, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So one day you're all invited to AA's house.
Inshallah.
Inshallah,
We'll make it
we'll be
happen.
there. Inshallah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Again, thank you. Thank you for making it here. Thank you for taking the time. It's been a very good podcast. I'm going to rewatch this again and
Yeah.
again because I really enjoyed this.
Is there about the product? Is there a way? Can you just order it internationally?
Yeah, so I ship internationally. Most countries are covered. Yeah, it's
Expect a lot of
Orders, definitely.
orders from the
Yeah.
Netherlands.
Well, I'll make sure to link
the
everything.
Netherlands. I think is my third most popular country.
Amazing.
Actually, yeah.
Uh,
So big
Are
support
you
from the
also
Netherlands.
in shops in Stockholm?
In Stockholm, no, I'm not, and I'm not distributed in Europe.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
You just do it online one.
yeah.
Yeah. More than
I'll
enough.
make sure to link everything so people can find you, inshallah. Ogula said, buy. Make sure to support Somali businesses. That's what Somali Circle's here to amplify businesses and make sure that everyone grows, inshallah. So, yeah, make sure to follow, subscribe, like everything, and I'll make sure to leave everything, inshallah, to the next episode.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
You were amazing.
gentlemen.